What if I told you the biggest IPO in history might already have buyers locked in before the stock even goes public? Not billionaires, not hedge funds. You, because if you own an index fund, a retirement account, or even a simple ETF, there's a chance you could end up buying SpaceX stock automatically whether you want to or not. And here's the crazy part. NASDAQ quietly changed the rules right before the IPO, not years before, not after public debate, right now. So today, we're breaking down what SpaceX actually is, why the numbers don't make sense, and why Wall Street may be engineering one of the biggest wealth transfers in modern market history. And trust me, the deeper this goes, the worse it gets. Part 1. What SpaceX really is. Most people think SpaceX is a rocket company. It's not. SpaceX is actually 3 completely different businesses stacked together. First, the rocket business. Second, Starlink. And third, Elon Musk's AI company. And oddly enough, the rocket business, the thing everyone associates with SpaceX, might actually be the least important part. But before we get to the profitable side of the company, we need to talk about the problem nobody wants to mention, because this is where things start getting uncomfortable. Part 2. XAI. A few months ago, Elon Musk merged his AI company into SpaceX in a massive stock deal. On paper, the AI division was valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. Sounds impressive, until you look closer. The company reportedly burns insane amounts of cash, and many early researchers and engineers have already left. Now compare that to competitors generating far more revenue with more stable businesses. Suddenly, the valuation starts looking less like genius and more like pure market hype. And here's the scary question. If the AI side keeps losing money, who's supposed to absorb the damage? Hold that thought, because now we get to the real engine behind SpaceX. But wait until you hear what's actually funding this entire empire, because it's probably not what you think. Part 3. Starlink. Starlink is the crown jewel. Not rockets, not Mars, internet. Thousands of satellites orbiting Earth, delivering internet almost everywhere on the planet. And unlike the AI division, this business actually makes serious money. The growth has been explosive. Millions of users, global expansion, defense contracts, airlines, ships, governments, and the profit margins have been climbing fast. This is the part investors are truly betting on. But even here, there's a catch, because one profitable business doesn't automatically justify an almost unbelievable valuation, especially when the entire company is still losing billions overall. So the question becomes, who is willing to buy this thing at such an insane price? And the answer is where the story gets disturbing. Part 4. The rule changes. Right before the expected IPO, NASDAQ introduced new rules, and the timing raised a lot of eyebrows. Under older rules, companies needed a stronger public share availability before entering major indexes. Now, those requirements suddenly became easier. The waiting period before index inclusion also became dramatically shorter. Why does that matter? Because once a company enters major indexes, giant funds are forced to buy it automatically. ETFs, retirement funds, passive investors, automatic demand. And that means billions of dollars can rush into a stock extremely fast, even if regular investors never actively chose it themselves. Think about that for a second. What happens when massive automatic buying hits a stock with very limited public shares? Prices can move violently, and insiders know that. Part 5. The real concern. This is why critics are worried. Not because SpaceX is a bad company. Actually, parts of it are incredibly impressive. The concern is about structure, because when hype, limited supply, forced buying, and massive valuations combine together, markets can become disconnected from reality, and history has shown what usually happens next. The biggest winners are often the insiders who got in early, while everyday investors arrive later at much higher prices. That's why some analysts are calling this one of the most engineered IPO environments we've seen in years. Now, to be clear, SpaceX could still become one of the most powerful companies on Earth. Starlink alone is already changing global communications. But that doesn't automatically mean the stock price will make sense. And that's the difference most people forget. A great company and a great investment are not always the same thing. So the real question is, if this IPO finally happens, are investors buying the future? Or are they becoming exit liquidity for people already at the top? Because in modern markets, those two things are sometimes very different. And honestly, that's the part you should pay attention to most.